It has been shut down since mid-February. Democrats are demanding changes following the fatal shootings of 2 Americans at the hands of federal agents. Donna Warder, Washington.
The Pentagon says Navy Secretary John Phelan is leaving his job. No reason was given for the unexpected departure of the Navy's top civilian official. Israeli and Lebanese officials are set to meet in Washington today to attempt to extend a fragile 10-day ceasefire that began last week. AP correspondent Karen Shamas reports.
The meeting comes as local authorities said 3 separate Israeli strikes killed at least 6 people and wounded others in southern Lebanon. Meanwhile, the prospects of talks between Iran and the US to end the war in the Middle East is uncertain. Pakistan had planned to host another round of talks this week, but the White House has suspended Vice President Vance's planned trip to Islamabad, while Iran accused the US of a lack of good faith in negotiations. Iran fired on 3 ships in the Strait of Hormuz on Wednesday and seized 2 of them. The attacks came a day after President Trump extended the ceasefire while maintaining an American blockade of Iranian ports. I'm Karen Shamas.
This is AP News. AP correspondent Gary Fields reports on a key redistricting measure in Virginia.
The arms race by state legislators and voters to control Congress took another step forward in Virginia. That's where voters approved a constitutional amendment that allows the congressional districts to be redrawn now rather than waiting for the census every 10 years. One voter in Alexandria, Matt Wallace, said he was resigned to the fact that in the current environment it is a standard of by any means necessary to fight back.
I think that the redistricting issue across the country is unfortunate, that we've had to resort to temporary redistricting.
Those that opposed it, like Joanna Miller, focused solely on Virginia and not the rest of the country and talked about how it will disenfranchise them.
I voted against the redistricting because I want my vote to count in a fair way.
Another test is coming in just a week in Florida. I'm Gary Fields.
And I'm Marcela Sanchez, AP News.
This is 820 AM, WCPT Willow Springs, and streaming worldwide at WCPT820.com. We are Chicago's progressive talk, where facts matter. Now, your WCPT 820 weather update.
From the Weatherology Weather Center, I'm meteorologist Michael Caro. For today, look for mostly sunny skies, high temperatures working up into the lower 80s, south winds increasing to 10 to 15. For tonight, showers and storms developing late, a low of 62, and then showers and storms likely on Friday. We're back to highs in the lower 70s. Cooler but drying out for your weekend, Saturday a high of 64, upper 60s Sunday. And that's your latest Chicago weather update. Right now it's 54.
Are you looking for more in this world? Are you ready for something bigger? Then we are looking for you. The big-hearted, the bold, the messy and the gutsy. The teachers, the growers, the builders. The skilled, the sharers, the change makers. We need you. We are the Peace Corps. In more than 60 countries, we go all in and all out. We are volunteers, partners, communities, working together, living together, bringing our experience, passion, and joy to building a better world together. From tackling climate change in Mexico to keeping kids healthy in Kenya, from sustainable farming in the Philippines to education in Kosovo. We learn more, give more, share freely, and serve boldly. Are you ready to tackle the tough stuff? To go the distance to make a difference? Then we have a place where you belong. Join us at peacecorps.gov.
Hey Google, play WCPT.
Streaming Chicago's progressive talk from TuneIn.
Welcome to Choose Views with Richard Chew. Get ready to dive into a world of insightful conversations and thought-provoking discussions.
As progressives, our job is to have an all-inclusive, full-on assault with all of our players.
A show that focuses on moving our political, social, economic, gender, and cultural conversation forward.
And all of our players means all of our players.
It's Choose Views. And now, here's your host, Richard Chew.
Good Thursday morning, progressives, and welcome to the April 23rd, 2026 edition of Choose Views, 773-763-9278. Find my show on Facebook Live, TuneIn Radio, and YouTube. Also broadcasting on AM 950 in Minneapolis, AM 1520 and 103.5 FM from Warren County, North Carolina. Progressives and all the rest, because we need everybody in this fight right now. Catch all of our shows by subscribing to our WCPT podcast on Apple Podcasts, Spotify, Amazon, and iHeartRadio. There you can get Choose Views, featured interviews, Joan Esposito, live, local, and progressive. The great Patty Vasquez driving you home. It's The Democracy Stupid with Edwin Eisendrath. Out Chicago and our other shows and interviews. And make your way over to heartlandsignal.com because of the way cool stuff that we have there. See, I said it, way cool stuff. Way cool stuff, Henry. We got articles on what's happening up in Minnesota for our folks there on AM 950. And we've got stuff for articles on what's happening with the folks in Iowa's GOP. The candidate Adam Steen promising he's a GOP gubernatorial candidate. He promises that if he's elected, he will ban Sharia law from the state, condemning outside legal systems on foreign ideologies and conflict with our rights and our values. Okay. Senator Tammy Baldwin, another Midwesterner, Heartlander. She put the business to Robert F. Kennedy Jr. yesterday on a couple different occasions, so you might want to check that out. But make your way over to heartlandsignal.com to check out what our folks in our digital newsroom are doing, because there's some bad, like Shaft used to say, but we can't say that on the air. But you guys know what I'm talking about. Yeah, they say that Heartland Signal is a bad. Shut your mouth. I'm just talking about Heartland Signal, and we can dig it. Wow. Richard Chu just went there. I don't want to get in trouble with Isaac Hayes' family, Jr. You know what? You guys should Google Isaac Hayes Jr. He is a really, really cool, progressive, liberal Democrat. You should check him out. He really put some great stuff out there. And I'm drawing a blank on the name of his site and his business. But since we went there, check out Isaac Hayes the third. He's a really cool dude. In any event, on today's show, we will be talking very shortly with Dr. Abdul El-Sayed, who is a candidate for U.S. Senate in Michigan. Dr. Saeed's been with us before, and we're going to get into this crowded field of things that are happening in our great neighboring other heartland state of Michigan. 7 o'clock will be with retired General Randy Manor, all things politics. You guys know who this gentleman is, this honorable lifetime military man of service is. He will be talking with us about what's happening in Virginia, the Iran war, voting, a lot of things that are going on there. And then Brian Lemek, who is with Defend the Vote. Brian's been with us in the past. He is the executive director, I should say, of Defend the Vote. So I'm looking forward to talking with him about saving our democracy, saving our voting, and all the rest. So stay tuned, guys. Get your notepads out and be ready to take some good notes, because these guys are going to bring it. I had a listener send me something that I had to think about, and I asked Henry to send me a reminder about this. And it was something that was part of the conversation that I had with Kurt Mullett yesterday. And I'll take some responsibility here in terms of something that there was an interpretation that came out of my conversation with Kurt. And it was when we bash Democrats, and I don't bash Democrats, but that's the word that was used. It creates a sense of, we're going after our own. Well, you guys know where I stand on that. I like to call out what I think needs to be called out on myself, clean up on aisle 7. And when Democrats aren't doing what I think they should be doing, I think it's our responsibility to call them out. I said part of the beauty of that is it makes our bigger tent stronger. The stronger players we have in our tent, the better. And that does mean that some of our elderly, and I will say this time, chronologically aged or elderly Democratic representatives in all levels, they need to step aside and do a better job, frankly, of training and bringing our new folks through. I believe that in my heart. But it doesn't mean that I'm saying let's kick them to the curb. And I don't agree that every young candidate that's running knows more than an older candidate. I don't believe that. I just don't. I think that putting the two together is when we are really some bad, whats. Mm-hmm. When we put the two together. Henry is significantly younger than I am. I've learned a lot from Henry and Mike and Devin. Mm-hmm. When we come together, we get stuff done. So I want to be clear about that. For anybody that's out there saying that, me and Kurt are bashing Democrats, that ain't happening. That didn't come out of our mouths. But it did lead to something that I felt like I needed to deal with. And that is, are we at a time right now, and this is the question of the day, and thank you for your responses to the AI questions, Monday on healthcare, Tuesday on the midterms, and yesterday on anything personal that's been your experience with AI. Voter depression versus voter suppression. What's the difference, if you see that there is one? And which is worse, if you want to look? They're both bad, depression and suppression. They are different, but they have the same net result. Folks don't show up to vote, or aren't allowed to show up to vote, depending on how you look at it. I'd like to know from you guys, voter depression or voter suppression, which one do you think is worse or has a worse effect on our electorate? Call us, text us at 773-763-9278, or go to our Facebook page and post your thoughts and comments there. I'd like to hear what you guys have to say about that. I may run this past Brian Lemek when he's on. So, but I want to hear from you guys in that space. As I said on today's show, we have Dr. Saeed will be joining us shortly. And we've got a great clip that we're going to play for you after our interview with Dr. Saeed that was part of an interview that was, I think it was on CNN, but we'll get to that later in the hour. On tomorrow's show, obviously tomorrow, Choose Views, I'll be, my guest will be Maria Pappas, Cook County Treasurer, and Hal Dardick, talking about taxes and the Treasury of the state of Illinois, more specifically Cook County. Karen Byrne from True Blue Politics Podcast will be hanging out with us, and Chicago's Mayor Brandon Johnson. We gotta put it to the mayor about what he's working on. And then tomorrow afternoon, I'll be sitting in for Joan Esposito from 2 to 5, just to let you guys know. So what I'd like you to do, wherever you are in the country, is get all your questions together for tomorrow afternoon when I'm sitting in for Joan, because I'm going to mix in some guests and some calls from you guys. So I'm just giving you a little bit of a heads up, and just to bring that to you. And of course, make sure you're checking out Patty Vasquez today. And Patty and I are doing double duty today and tomorrow. Patty's sitting in for Joan and doing her show today. And then I'm doing my show in the morning and sitting in for Joan in the afternoon, because we believe in our team here. That's what we do, y'all. That's what we do. All right. We're going to take a quick break because Dr. Saeed will be with us very shortly. The number is 773-763-9278. You're listening to Choose Views on WCPT AM 820 in Chicago and WARR 1520 AM and 103.5 FM from Warren County, North Carolina, as well as our good friends at AM 950 in Minnesota. That is the progressive voice of Minnesota. I'm Richard Chu. We'll be right back.
From the Weatherology Weather Center, I'm meteorologist Michael Caro. For today, look for mostly sunny skies, high temperatures working up into the lower 80s, south winds increasing to 10 to 15. For tonight, showers and storms developing late, a low of 62, and then showers and storms likely on Friday. We're back to highs in the lower 70s. Cooler but drying out for your weekend, Saturday a high of 64, upper 60s Sunday. And that's your latest Chicago weather update. Right now, it's 54.
WCPT replay.
This is exactly where we are. This is how we got here, because Joe Biden would not play that game. And, Obama did not play that game. We certainly didn't give them the clown show that Trump does. This is why I keep trying to tell people, it's not the show. Mm-hmm. Don't take the rage bait. Don't be part of the show. This is how he got elected again. These people want him in there because he makes them money. He gives them fame. Everybody's paying attention right now. They didn't pay attention when Biden was in office, and he was getting so much done. But they didn't pay attention because it wasn't a clown show. There wasn't the opportunity for them to, cover him and put on a little show of standing up to him for a second and then become famous and write a book.
Keep listening to WCPT 820 because facts matter.
I'm Smokey Bear, and I made an assistant to help you out because only you can prevent wildfires.
Hey, Assistant Smokey Bear, call me Papa Bear because I'm grilling up dinner. Do you get it?
Yes, good job.
So, what should I do with all these coals?
Don't just toss them out. Put them in a metal container because those embers can start a wildfire.
I understand. The stakes are high.
Ha, 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 ha.
Learn more at SmokeyBear.com.
Brought to you by the U.S. Forest Service, your state forester, and the Ad Council.
Hey Google, play WCPT.
Streaming Chicago's progressive talk from TuneIn.
No fake news here. It's Chew's Views with Richard Chew.
All right, guys, welcome back to the show. We have so many great people on our political bench, folks that are running for office, not just here in Illinois, not just in any other state, but in the great state of Michigan, our neighboring state, across the lake of Lake Michigan, and all the. I love Michigan. I spent so much of my life there. It's one of my favorite. It's a beautiful state, and you don't know it until you get kind of just a little bit north of about maybe 50 miles from the Indiana-Michigan border, and it just gets beautiful. So with us this morning is somebody that's from Michigan, and that says that Michigan needs to have Medicare for all. It says that Michigan needs to have a more stout medical system, and it kind of makes sense that kind of language would come from someone that has the medical training to understand what that's all about. Who am I talking about? Dr. Abdul El-Sayed is with us again. It's been a few months, but Doc, I'm glad you're back on the show. It's good to see you again.
Your brother Richard, it's always a privilege to be with you. Thank you so much for having me back.
Man, there's so much we could talk about. We could talk for a couple of hours about what's happening. But do me the favor, as well as our listeners all over the country, if you can kind of reintroduce yourself in your own words to our audience and listeners, so they can catch up with who you are, what you're doing, and all the rest. And then we'll get into a couple of questions.
Absolutely. I'm an accidental public servant. I grew up wanting to be a doctor. My family immigrated from Egypt, and I would go 15 hours as soon as I was old enough. My folks would ship me out, and I'd spend my time with my grandmother, smartest, wisest person I ever met in my life. Never got to go to school. She was the 9th of 14, herself gave birth to 8 kids. 2 of them died before their first birthday. Now, in the 15-hour journey, I would travel a difference of 10 years in life expectancy. I didn't have to go 15 hours. I could go 15 minutes into the city of Detroit. I became a doctor to do something about it, only to realize that our healthcare system was part of the problem. So I went into public health, rebuilt Detroit's health department, led Wayne County's Department of Health, Human and Veteran Services. We did things like put glasses on kids, take on big corporate polluters, made sure that our kids were breathing clean air by putting air quality monitors everywhere in our county, put Narcan in vending machines for free in 100 locations across our county, made sure that kids weren't drinking leaded water after Flint by having every school, daycare, and Head Start tested for lead in the water, and led to the elimination of upwards of $700 million in medical debts, the biggest medical debt erasure in Michigan state history. I've been now to 90 different cities on a campaign for U.S. Senate.
Wow.
And I got a simple message. We've got to get money out of politics, put money in your pocket, and pass Medicare for all. We've got to stop sending our money abroad to drop bombs on other people's babies so that we could take care of our own. And we've got to make sure that rather than spending $185 billion on ICE, maybe we could spend that $185 billion to make sure that our schools look nice.
Dr. Said, how about if you and I say we take that $185 billion and we divide that into, 100 cities? And how much would that largesse help out? And they can be red cities, blue cities, just 100 cities. We can mix it up. Yeah. We can do 33 and 33 and 34, whatever. Or do 99 cities. But if
make it easy, we could do $3.5 billion a state. Okay?
Bingo.
And we just said, we're going to invest it in schools. And just for perspective for listeners who these numbers get big and they kind of boggle the mind. $185 billion is bigger than the budget of the Marines. It's bigger than the budget of the FBI. and we just said, you know what, we're going to divide it evenly by state. You go use that to improve the quality of your schools. What would that mean?
Yeah, I mean, talk about, I've said this so many times, and I'm going to sound like I'm preaching, so I got to slow down. I've said so many times, the best tool for our country to improve its national defense is to make sure that the citizens are taken care of first. Their health, their education, their economic opportunity. Start with that, and we can stop dropping bombs on other countries because we do some stupid stuff to make them not like us a lot. I mean, that's really oversimplifying it, but that's where I believe we are. And I so appreciate you speaking that way. A smart, well-educated guy that understands the common sense of this issue.
I mean, you think about the things that keep you insecure, right? We talk about national security. The deep and profound national insecurity that we have in our country right now is that people can't afford the basic means of a dignified life. If you get a W-2 paycheck, right, every 2 weeks or 4 weeks, after Uncle Sam eats, that's what FICA is, right? Federal Insurance Collections Agency. The next group that eats is the health insurer, whose CEO makes, what, $20 million a year?
Mm-hmm.
And then if you actually need to get the health care that you thought you already paid for every 2 weeks or 4 weeks, you pay, what, another $4,000 deductible? That means you're losing a whole paycheck just to get the care you already thought. If that doesn't make you feel insecure, I don't know what does. So we want to invest in the national security. Maybe we could guarantee everybody health care through Medicare for all. But of course, everybody says, well, it's too complicated. But then I'll tell you.
That's a lie.
I've been a doctor. Right, exactly. I've been a doctor in a position where you're floating a program to guarantee glasses for kids. And everybody looks at you as if they figured it out. They say, doctor, how you going to pay for that? I really wish that every time a general was drawing up war plans to drop bombs on Iran or Venezuela, there was somebody in there who'd be like, General, how you going to pay for that?
Mm-hmm.
Because at the end of the day, I would rather be in a situation where we're paying for the doctor's plans rather than paying for the general's plans, because at the end of the day, it addresses our biggest national insecurity, which is the average person, average family in this country can't figure out how to make the ends meet.
And here's the crazy thing about that. It would actually strengthen our military to have better, well-suited, better educated, better health boys and girls come out of high school, if that's their choice to go in the military. We would have a better recruiting pool because we have a healthier society of young men and women that decide to go in the military, or if they decide to go to OCS and then on to the basic school and the whole nine, or whatever. They would be better. So, sorry. You and I are, it's not that we're on the same page on this. It's just that your grandmother and my grandmother probably knew each other in another life, and their common sense got rained down on us. So we're blessed to be able to say that. Shout out to the grandmamas of all communities.
God bless the grandmas.
That's right.
If all of us just sort of had, I try to keep a picture of my grandmother close, and she's always been the moral force in my life. She was somebody who never got to go to school. But there's this thing about institutions, when we step into them, they start to corrupt our thinking. They make us think that the incentives of the institution are more important than the broader wisdom that they suffuse into us.
Mm-hmm.
And my grandmother never stepped foot into an institution. There was no institution for her. And so she just had a very simple moral code. And her question was, are you using what you have to benefit the people around you?
Yeah.
And I think a lot about her, especially on a campaign like this, right? When people come at you for saying that you should be invested in schools and healthcare rather than bombs abroad, when people come at you because they say, oh, well, you cannot be possibly serious because the healthcare system is too complicated. I think about my grandmother and what she'd say. And it's always funny to me, right? When you think about the quote-unquote serious people, right? They always parade around in suits and side parts, and they go on TV and they glare into the TV camera and say very serious things. And it's always funny to me because I'm like, well, I went to whole medical school, and I did a PhD in public health, and I rebuilt 2 health departments, and you still want to tell me that we cannot provide health care? Seriously, right? Like, how much more serious do you want to get? How much more serious can it be than somebody who's gone through cancer 3 times and lost all of their life savings only in the 3rd one? You shouldn't have to survive cancer only to realize that your life savings are gone. I mean, if we are serious people in this country, then we got to think seriously about where we're spending our money. And I think your grandma and my grandma would both say, yep, that sounds wise to me.
Yeah, it does. Dr. Saeed, you're in a what's the word I'm going to use? It's a crowded field of folks running for this Senate seat. And I do my best to not pick who I would want to be the winner of a particular, but I do know this: y'all got to beat Mike Rogers. That there's no way in heck can Mike Rogers become the next senator in the state of Michigan. So what is it that you're doing? And you went from 60, I think it was 68 cities back in the fall, or 63 late fall, to you've gone to 90 now. But beyond that, what are the other things that you're doing that are going to separate you from some really good people? Mallory McMorrow has been on our show once or twice, and we haven't had a chance to have Ms. Stevens on yet. But somehow y'all got to figure out how to not let the dilution of the three great people, great candidates, let Mike Rogers and all the money that's coming his way slip in and win this seat. So let's talk about that. And then we got to go to a break in a bit. But you got like 90 seconds, and then we'll come back and talk about that some more.
So I'll just tell you, this is a guy who lost last time. He underperformed Donald Trump by more than our current U.S. Senator Alyssa Slotkin underperformed Vice President Harris. He's a guy who spent his time in Congress voting to increase prescription drug prices. He helped to kick off the opioid epidemic. Now think, who would be the best person to take him on than a doctor who rebuilt Detroit's health department and eliminated $700 million in medical debt and put Narcan in 100 locations all over Wayne County? I welcome that fight. By the time I'm done with him, he's going to look himself in the mirror and be like, man, I shouldn't have kicked off the opioid epidemic and tried to raise prescription drug prices on seniors. So I think our job is to take the fight to them rather than play not to lose.
Yeah, that's exactly right. That one of the things that we have seen too many times, and I don't mean this as a bad criticism of us as Democrats or progressive liberal Democrats, is that we get caught on our heels too many times rather than, like you just said, taking it to them first. I use the phrase, and some people don't like it, but it's not meant to be derogatory, but we got to go snatch their lunch before they snatch ours. So
that part.
Yeah, that part right there. Go ahead. You're going to say something, Doc.
I was just going to say, you can imagine with my name, I've met my fair share of bullies. And I learned pretty quickly that one ought not to be a bully unless it's against bullies. Yeah. So I shamelessly bully bullies. And I cannot wait to give him the figurative version of a swirly in a toilet, because I'm going to make that man regret the day he ever decided to run for U.S. Senate.
Yeah, and that's the kind of taking the fight too. Those are the kinds of things that need to happen. And you bring this, like I said, a well-educated person and smart person with a lot of common sense to this fight. So we're all excited. As Michigan goes, Illinois goes, and vice versa. We got to figure out a way to get our brothers and sisters in Indiana to straighten up and fly right. But that's a fight for a different day. But Dr. Saeed, we're going to take a quick break. When we come back, we're going to talk some more. You're listening to Choose Views on WCPT AM 820 in Chicago, WARR 1520 AM and 103.5 FM from Warren County, North Carolina, and also our great friends at AM 950, the great state of Minnesota, which is the progressive voice of Minnesota. We'll be right back.
Teachers are dynamic leaders, shaping a new generation. They bring a variety of perspectives from diverse backgrounds, innovating how they teach to prepare students for our fast-changing world. Achieving this takes skill and expertise. They're tireless explorers, creatively discovering a universe of solutions, telling stories, experimenting, inspiring, mentoring, connecting cultures, and connecting with each other. Leading by example. Experience the unique joy of helping students thrive. Teaching is a journey that shapes lives. Are you ready to begin? Explore teaching at teach.org, a campaign supported by the U.S. Department of Education, teach.org, and 1 million teachers of color.
Mom was always very organized. But my sister and I noticed she started to forget things.
Telling my girls about my Alzheimer's diagnosis was hard.
But Mom's early detection gave us time to make a plan.
My sister and I were there for Mom and each other.
If you or your family are noticing changes, it could be Alzheimer's. Talk about seeing a doctor together. For more information, visit alz.org/time to talk. A message from the Alzheimer's Association and the Ad Council.
The best words to hear at the TSA security checkpoint? You're good to go. All it takes is a little preparation. Get to the airport early, bring a carry-on bag that fits in the overhead, and have an acceptable ID. Not all state-issued IDs will cut it. Check out tsa.gov/ID and see which TSA acceptable IDs make the grade, like a real ID or passport.
Before you jet, do a little prep, and you're good to go. Check out tsa.gov/ID or the MyTSA app.
You're listening to WCPT 820. Here's the latest Chicago weather update.
From the Weatherology Weather Center, I'm meteorologist Michael Caro. For today, look for mostly sunny skies, high temperatures working up into the lower 80s, south winds increasing to 10 to 15. For tonight, showers and storms developing late, a low of 62, and then showers and storms likely on Friday. We're back to highs in the lower 70s. Cooler but drying out for your weekend, Saturday a high of 64, upper 60s Sunday. And that's your latest Chicago weather update. Currently it's 55.
WCPT 820, Chicago's progressive talk, where facts matter.
Don't hit that snooze button. It's time for Choose Views with Richard Chew.
All right, guys, welcome back to the show. If you're just tuning in, I'm Richard Chew, and this is Choose Views, and we're talking with a candidate for Michigan U.S. Senate, Dr. Abdul El Said. Dr. Said, money is a big deal right now in politics across the country. State elections, primaries. I mean, we had a whole bunch of money. Some estimates were $10 million thrown at our primaries here in Illinois by outside groups. Fair Shake? Fair Shake is the name of the group. A bunch of crypto dudes and dudettes, I'm sure, that threw a bunch of money here at our race. I know you all are getting some of the same garbage from outside entities that's flooding your elections. And it's doing two things. And I know you know this. One, it's to create this division between the three of you, the three primary Democratic candidates. And it's for Mike Rogers. Let's talk a little bit about money in politics, money in your state, in your current race, and how you're navigating around that. I guess Haley Stevens has got a little bit of an edge, but talk a little bit about where this is landing with you.
I'll tell you this, I'm proud to be the only candidate in this primary who has never taken a dime from corporations to run my campaigns and never will. I'm also proud to be the only one who's not supported by the Israel lobby. I ask everyday folks to support our campaign because I think that's how politics should work. And when I'm elected, I want to ban both corporate contributions in politics and then all of these shady vehicles by which corporations move their money in outside entities to try and pick their favorites so that their lobbyists can then meet them the minute that they get to Capitol Hill and tell them what kind of legislation they want to pass. The reason our system gets rigged is exactly because of this, and it's coming in this primary in a huge way. AIPAC, one of the biggest players, has said that I am the single most dangerous candidate for the U.S.-Israel relationship. And that is because I'm willing to say that our foreign policy should be dictated here at home. As a senator from Michigan, I want my tax dollars spent here in Michigan to invest in schools in Michigan and healthcare in Michigan and roads in Michigan, rather than to send bombs and tanks abroad to subsidize genocide or apartheid or war. That shouldn't be a hard thing to say, but AIPAC has made it so that there's a bipartisan consensus where you don't hear that kind of viewpoint because at the end of the day, everybody's too afraid to get tagged by them. Now, the consequence is that people in Michigan are going to be watching ad after ad after ad after ad telling them that I'm the worst thing that has ever walked to the earth. But at the same time, I also know that in order to serve, you cannot be beholden to the folks with money. You have to be beholden to the folks themselves. You have been spot on in that space, and you've been unyielding, and that's one of the things that I like about your position here. And you've gone as far as saying that Israel is probably one of the most evil forms, is the Israeli government. Let me be very clear on that, because I know a lot of people try to mix and mosh, and I know they tried to slip your words, that the Israeli government and the way in which they're acting right now is as evil as Hamas. A genocide is an evil thing. Like, if we can't call a genocide evil, I believe that they conducted a genocide. If we can't call a genocide evil, what are we doing? Yeah. Right? Because at the end of the day, I got no issue with the average Jewish Israeli. We may disagree on some issues, but the government that currently represents that country has conducted a genocide. It's used our tax dollars to do it. That is an evil thing, and we should not be in the business of subsidizing evil things. I want my tax dollars spent here at home. And it should not be difficult to say, but again, you won't hear politicians saying it because they're too afraid of spending happening on behalf of trying to tie our foreign policy to the best interests of the Israeli government rather than our best interest. I just want us to be able to have an honest conversation here about where our tax dollars get used. And the second biggest recipient of foreign military aid, by the way, is Egypt, where my family came from. And I don't think we should be giving them tanks or bombs either. I would like to pull their military funding too. And that does not make me anti-Egyptian. And I also just have to say this. I love and revere and respect Judaism and the Jewish people. And AIPAC and Israel are not the same as Judaism and the Jewish people. I can love and revere and respect Judaism and the Jewish people, stand forthrightly against anti-Semitism, and at the same time stand against what the Israeli government is doing and tying our foreign policy to the Israeli government by way of a MAGA-funded super PAC here at home. And those two things aren't just not mutually exclusive. I actually think they're mutually inclusive because I love Judaism and the Jewish people because I love people. And I want all people to be able to live long, healthy, productive lives. I believe all people deserve equal rights to peace, dignity, and self-determination. That includes Jewish people and that includes Palestinian people. And anyone who tells you otherwise is saying that some people's pain and some people's hopes and dreams are not worth the same as other people's. And I'm just not willing to do that.
Right. There's nothing much more to say behind that. Right. I just don't I do understand. I shouldn't say I don't understand. I know you do too. Why people can't just say that and be strong enough to go, this is what I believe. And that's a fair way of looking at humanity. Mayor Johnson, Brandon Johnson in Chicago talks about that often. And I've kind of become a follower of that statement, which is we have to take back our humanity. And part of that is calling out the garbage and the BS that's happening that's flooded our political system. And it's also then trickled down, to use the Reagan frame, to so many other areas that impact our everyday lives and living with dignity. So I appreciate you not backing down from that. Let's talk a little bit about the cost of just turning the lights on and how data centers are being impacted, or not being impacted, but are impacting that conversation.
Well, I'll tell you this. DTE is our local utility here in Southeast Michigan. They have raised our electrical rates faster than in 46 other states in the last 20 years. They are one of the biggest earners returning to their shareholders. Now, as a customer of DTE, I happen to hate the fact that I lose my electricity 2 or 3 times a year. And I can't stand the fact that they sent me a letter back in January telling me that for the privilege of getting to pay my already inflated electrical bill, I got to pay another $2.99 if I want to do it via credit card. And the only reason they can do that is because they spread their money around to politicians to help them get elected. 93% of the state legislature, including folks I'm running against, have taken money from DTE. And you wonder, how does DTE get away with it? Well, when they're paying off all the regulators, that's how they get away with it. And the data center question has just added an exclamation point to all of this. You're talking about huge data centers that are going to suck up the equivalent of everything we already burn when it comes to electricity, above and beyond what we're already doing, and our electricity is already not reliable. And so the question becomes, well, if you're going to have to produce twice as much electricity as you already produce now, and I already lose my power 2 or 3 times a year, how are you going to make that work, right, without raising my rates? So we put out what we call a terms of engagement back in January. If you want to open a data center project in Michigan, you better meet the following terms. Number 1, if you're going to create jobs, you better create all the jobs that you say you're going to create, and they better be good union jobs. Number 2, our rates cannot go up because of this. Number 3, some of the revenue that you get because of these projects needs to be reinvested back into improving our reliability, not just keeping it where it is. Number 4, you cannot touch our water. We sit on 21% of the world's fresh water. You cannot touch our water. You need closed loop systems where you have no impact on water or water infrastructure. Number 5, there needs to be a community benefits agreement that you've negotiated in good faith with local communities. And finally, all of this needs to be paid for up front, and there needs to be very clear fees and fines. And the reason we did it this way is because it's a scalable approach to public policymaking that a local town council can use, or that I hope I get to pass when I'm in the U.S. Senate, so that we can address the fact that these data center operators are trying to bully one group against another to get to the least common denominator. But if you had federal policy that regulated this, then they'd have to at least follow the terms regardless of where they went.
Yeah, and it's an environmental conversation as much as it's an economic one, because the gases that are going to increase the production, is that exhaust has got to go somewhere. And I'm not a data center expert, but if you're taking water from the water tables in a particular community, inevitably that's going to create an airborne issue, because dry dirt, dry land doesn't produce anything. So then we've got no photosynthesis that can come into play, and the list goes on and on and on. So this is an environmental issue as much as it's an economic issue in my observation.
Yeah, Richard, I'll be honest with you, right? Like, we're talking about the amount of money that's being funneled into the data center explosion is more, after adjusting for inflation, than all of the money that was invested in building the federal highway system under Dwight Eisenhower.
Jeez.
We're talking about a huge amount of capital investment into this project over a period of a couple of years. And so we've got to get this right. And bigger picture, I think there are a lot of questions we've got to be asking about AI generally and the future it's creating for us. You know, data centers are one bucket. Then there's the existential risks of these things slipping control or being used by the wrong people to do the wrong things. And then there's the question of like the future of work, which is a really important question I think about every day when I talk to young people. And we are like 5 years behind when it comes to the legislation we should have passed a long time ago. And the problem that I've got is a lot of these folks who've been in the legislature in the past have punted the ball down the field. I mean, you were in a position to do something about it. Why weren't you doing anything about it? And now when you look at the legislature, you've got folks who are bought off by the corporations who may understand the technology, who are sitting on their hands because corporations who bought them off made sure of it. And then you've got a lot of folks who may not be as close to the technology, but really want to do something. I think we need leaders who understand the technology and also are not bought off by the corporations who are creating it. And that's what I'm hoping to be able to offer in the U.S. Senate.
Last question as we wrap up, Dr. Saeed, and we got to have you back again. I love talking to you because I feel like I'm sitting in class taking notes from a professor. And I mean that in all seriousness and all due respect. Last question. You get to the Senate. We take back the House and we take back the Senate. What's the first thing you're going to really want to do as a U.S. Senator if we have control of both of those chambers?
I think the most important thing we can do right now is break the vice grip that big corporations and special interests have on our politics. It is the skeleton key to every other problem. We don't have health care. Well, it's because of big pharma and big insurance, and they got a vice grip on our politics. We are fighting wars we shouldn't fight. Well, it's because of the power of AIPAC in our politics. We are watching as DTE is raising our rates. Well, it's because they spread their money around in politics. It is the single most important thing we've got to take on. So we've got to fight Trump, yes, but we've also got to take on the system that created Donald Trump. And it is that system that allows big money to influence big politics in ways that bully us. And so that has to be number one. Now, a quick number two, we got to pass Medicare for all, and we've got to hold the Trump administration accountable. And I just want to finish here. I think a lot of folks thought wrongly that if we just walked away from all of the malfeasance that the Trump administration perpetrated in their last go-around, that it wouldn't happen again. It was an aberration. I think we should have been fully corrected on that now. And if we do not enforce the laws against public corruption now, I worry that the next version of Donald Trump is actually going to be smart. And you think about what they could do to corrupt our system if we are not willing to stand up to fight back. And so we've got to both do the work of addressing the affordability crisis, the healthcare crisis, and the government corruption crisis all at the same time. So we got our work cut out for us. And I think it's critical that we have legislators in there that have the energy, the enthusiasm, the understanding of the circumstance and are not bought off by the same exact corporate system who are out there willing to do the work.
Two things. You need to reach out to Amy McGrath, who's running for Senate in Kentucky. Affordability and accountability are her two key things, and you just said your version of that, affordability and accountability. Dr. Saeed, how can folks find you, follow you, and get involved at this point in your campaign?
Go to abdulforsenate.com. I hope that you will sign up to volunteer. We got thousands of volunteers. We're already making phone calls. You can do it from anywhere in the country. If you're moved to pass us off $5, $10, I hope that you'll consider doing that. Again, I don't take corporate money. AIPAC is coming for my face. So I need your help. And I hope that folks will consider making a quick contribution. You can also just follow us on social media, share our stuff, have conversations with folks. And thank you all for tuning in to listen to a thoughtful conversation with my brother, Richard Chu. I'm honored to be here with you. I hope that I get to come back again.
You absolutely will. Dr. Saeed, thanks for being with us. Stay safe, and we will talk to you soon, okay?
You too, my friend. Thank you so much.
Be well. Let's take a quick break, guys. You're listening to Choose Views on WCPT, AM 820 in Chicago and WARR 1520 AM and 103.5 FM from Warren County, North Carolina. And now AM 950, the progressive voice of Minnesota. I'm Richard Chu. We'll be right back.
This is a WCPT Veteran Minute. In the midst of World War II, a group of Native American soldiers known as the Code Talkers became silent heroes. The U.S. military faced challenge of secure communications on the battlefield, and these men, primarily from the Navajo tribe, were enlisted to develop an unbreakable code. Using their native language, which had no written alphabet, they transmitted vital messages that were indecipherable to enemy forces. The code proved to be an essential asset, particularly in the Pacific Theater, where it helped the Allies win crucial battles. The Code Talkers' courage and ingenuity saved countless lives and turned the tide of the war. Yet, their contributions remained largely unknown until decades later. The legacy of the Code Talkers stands as a testament to the strength, resilience, and invaluable service of Native Americans during one of America's most devastating conflicts. This has been a WCPT Veteran Minute.
Save big money on everything you need at Menards. Your roof is the first line of defense against the elements, and it enhances the appearance of your home's exterior. Owens Corning shingles offer ultimate protection and impressive curb appeal. Choose from 26 colors of Owens Corning Duration shingles and transform your home today. Shop our selection of roofing products on Menards.com. Plus, check out our weekly flyer and find plenty of great deals happening now.
Save big money at Menards.
Progressive knows life takes you in many directions.
Bear right at exit 32, then begin to wonder why you never bought a fish tank. In 1.3 miles, you'll realize you've been mispronouncing epitome your whole life. At the roundabout, you will remember you said something at dinner you wish you hadn't and will think about it for decades. You have arrived at your destination, but it turns out there really is no destination and life just keeps going.
Wherever life takes you, protect your home and auto with a bundle from Progressive. Progressive Casualty Insurance Company, affiliates, and other insurers. Not available in all states or situations.
This is WCPT 820, where facts matter.
It's Choose Views, where we read more than just the headline. Now here's your host, Richard Chu.
You know what's crazy about Pete Hegseth? He works so hard to overcompensate for his impotence and his weakness. He's the kind of dude that would walk down the street in the Bronx in Yonkers and have his head down and not look anyone in the eye because he's a punk and a coward. And the only thing he has going for him is, you know, people around him bowing down to this hyper-masculine nonsense. He's a punk and a coward. So is J.D. Vance. So is Trump. This is why you asked me this question. You knew I was going to get excited, okay?
We know you well, because you've been here a few times before.
I'm tired of these people. Lord
all right. That was a layup for Jamal. Jamal Bowman and Ahmed Baba, thank you so much for joining.
All right. Yes. I agree with former Congressman Jamal Bowman and Ahmed Baba. Two black men that both caught the ire of AIPAC, believe it or not, because they didn't bend the knee. But to that end, he speaks the truth, or at least what I believe to be truthful about this. Pete Hegseth, Vance, Trump, Johnson, they're all punks. They are. Y'all may not like the fact that I use that word, but that is how I see it. And it needs to be said. Just like Dr. Saeed said that we have to be a little bit more willing to speak the truth about the relationships in this Israeli, Jewish, Muslim, American conversation. We have to stop tiptoeing around this. We have to stop, sort of pity-patting like, oh, well, if I say something, I'm going to tick somebody off. Say it and hold your truth. I don't get it right all the time here. Like I said many times, I know a lot about a lot of things, but not about everything. But in this case, I know where I stand. And those guys that are those four names, those four leaders in the party are the most reckless four leaders we've had in decades. And they fall behind this false image of being these tough guys. And I'm going to say this, and you guys will just have to roll with me because I'm not advocating violence. But if you catch one of them singularly by themselves in an alley, we'll see how tough they are. My father used to say that. My father wasn't a violent man, but he would always make it clear. Sometimes you've got to do like Dr. Saeed says, and that's just speak the truth in an unfiltered way. And Jamal Bowman, former congressman, and Baba both spoke that truth. Those were layup questions. He was right. But I wanted you guys to hear that clip, and I can send it to you if you'd like. Just email me at richard@WCPT820.com, or go to our Facebook and talk about that. It's a powerful moment. It's a powerful statement. And they laughed about it, but it has to be said. Trump, Vance, Hegseth, Johnson, punks. They've driven us to this war where people have died because one of the people has been accused heavily of not only sexual harassment, convicted of 34 counts of fraud, essentially, adjudicated rapist, and now at the tip of the spear of one of the biggest conspiracies when it comes to sexual deviancy that I've heard of in my lifetime. An economy that is struggling. Markets are doing well. Economy struggling. He lied about that during the campaign. The entire GOP did. Let's just call it as it is. Tariffs that are causing businesses to have no real certainty, which means that the employees don't have real certainty. A medical system that is, no pun intended, on life support. An immigration system that also on life support. And I'm tired of people on the left, right, and in the middle saying, yeah, but the border's closed and that. We have more than one border, y'all. We have more than one physical border. We have 4, technically, if you want to put the United States in a box. We have 4. And I haven't said this in a while, but when it comes to immigration, and, I'm not interested in the every now and again, ones that happen. When it comes to immigration, this is not a policy or conversation that's about white people from Central Europe or the quote-unquote white countries that Trump talks about. This is about brown folks from across the globe coming to the United States because a bunch of feckless white dudes in America can't compete. That's what this is really about. So like Dr. Saeed and like Jamal Bowman, I'm going to speak my truth in that space because I'm sick and tired of people running around going, well, we got to protect the border. We got to. From who? Let's protect the border from the Peter Thiels and the Alex Karps of the world. Did you guys hear this recent? Let me just put this one on you. This is part of Choose Views News today, but because of our time with Dr. Saeed, I wasn't able to get to it the way I wanted to. Palantir and the USDA cut a $300 million deal to protect food supply. Careful with the word protect. Palantir yesterday announced a $300 million agreement with the U.S. Department of Agriculture to enhance farmland management. Listen to these words. As American farmers grapple with geopolitical tensions and supply chain issues. Okay, geopolitical tensions, that's also fancy for word for war. Supply chain issues, that's fancy for tariffs. Rising supply costs, tariffs, particularly for gas and fertilizer, the war, have caused many to rethink what they produce, per CNBC. The USDA deal reflects Palantir's growing role in U.S. government projects beyond the arena of defense. I told y'all this was going to happen. This work gives, quote, gives USDA the visibility and speed needed to safeguard our food supply, said USDA Chief Information Officer Sam Berry. I call BS on that. And let me tell you why. At the end of the day, Palantir doesn't know a damn thing about digging up ground, making it fertile to grow something, harvesting that thing that grew, and then delivering it to the end user, the middle person and the end user. They don't know a damn thing about that, not to what I've done research on. They're a tech company. They've always been in tech. They haven't been in farming. And in fact, the C-suite at Palantir doesn't really like the use of American farming as a tool to sustain us. So how in the hell does the USDA get in bed with Palantir to make it seem like they're making production better for farmers who are struggling to produce in the first damn place? It's bananas. So I'm going to read you some other information about this. It's being viewed as a way of having tighter control for bailouts, meaning when a farmer has to get rid of his or her farm, and a way for them to basically lose their hold on this land that may have been inherited or passed down from family to from generation to generation. They're putting this partnership, this getting in bed with the devil, is really about making it easier for farmers to get rid of their farms for who to take over. You all know that J.D. Vance is deeply invested in the systems that are designed to try to make it sound like farming can be made more efficient by being automated. But there's a certain amount of recklessness that comes with that. So American farmers don't need new tools to make the bailouts easier. They need tools that make farming profitable again. Tools like the revolutionary L&A Azer, which farmers in all 50 states are banned from using to escape the system that they can't afford. In other words, forcing them to use a system that is not profitable. They do not need Peter Thiel and Alex Karp's manifesto subverting rural America. But those 78 million people that said that Donald Trump was going to be the next thing to Christ, y'all got hoodwinked. We told you. We didn't try to tell you. We told you loud and clear. We yelled it from the back of our throats and from the bottom of our feet. And here we are. So for us to fix this problem, we've got to get rid of the GOP in its entirety. We as Democrats got to step up our game. There's no question there. But we have been saying for the longest time that these people were coming, and now they're here. They're no longer in the closet or underneath the bed. Those monsters are laying next to you, smiling and grinning. Let's take a quick break, y'all. The number is 773-763-9278. You're listening to Choose Views on WCPT AM 820 in Chicago, WARR 1520 AM and 103.5 FM from Warren County, North Carolina, as well as our friends at AM 950, the progressive voice of Minnesota. I'm Richard Chu. We'll be right back.
Today, 1 in 5 working-age Americans has a mental health condition.
People in all types of jobs and at all levels.
And the key to helping us succeed is a supportive and inclusive workplace.
All of us have a role to play in making that happen.
So what can I do to help?
As a CEO, I can set the tone for supportive culture.
As a manager, I can offer assistance and accommodations.
As a coworker, I can listen and be a source of support to my colleagues.
As someone with a mental health condition, I can ask for what I need to perform my best.
I can offer all employees the supports they need to deliver on the job. For the team
and for the business.
What can I do?
What can I do?
What can I do?
I can remind others
that we all benefit from workplaces that promote good mental health.
Mental health-friendly workplaces are more important than ever.
And all of us have a role to play in promoting them.
Learn more at whatcanyoudocampaign.org.
Epic parties start at Staples. Now you can grab Party City balloons, decorations, and tableware, plus matching custom invites, banners, and more right at Staples. That was easy.
I'm Marcela Sanchez with an AP News Minute. The Senate has passed a budget plan that would fund ICE and Border Patrol in a bid to reopen the Department of Homeland Security. AP correspondent Donna Warder reports.
Senate Republicans have approved a budget plan that would fund ICE and Border Patrol in the Department of Homeland Security. Majority Leader John Thune.
Democrats want to defund law enforcement, defund border security.
Democratic Senator Jack Reed of Rhode Island.
It unlocks reconciliation, a process that will allow Republicans to ram through another partisan bill that finds and funds two rogue federal agencies.
Homeland Security has been shut down since mid-February. Democrats are demanding changes following the fatal shootings of 2 Americans at the hands of federal agents. Donna Warder, Washington.
The Pentagon says Navy Secretary John Phelan is leaving his job. No reason was given for the unexpected departure of the Navy's top civilian official. Israeli and Lebanese officials are set to meet in Washington today to attempt to extend a fragile 10-day ceasefire that began last week. AP correspondent Karen Shamas reports.
The meeting comes as local authorities said 3 separate Israeli strikes killed at least 6 people and wounded others in southern Lebanon. Meanwhile, the prospects of talks between Iran and the US to end the war in the Middle East is uncertain. Pakistan had planned to host another round of talks this week, but the White House has suspended Vice President Vance's planned trip to Islamabad, while Iran accused the US of a lack of good faith in negotiations. Iran fired on 3 ships in the Strait of Hormuz on Wednesday and seized 2 of them. The attacks came a day after President Trump extended the ceasefire while maintaining an American blockade of Iranian ports. I'm Karen Shamas.
This is AP News. AP correspondent Gary Fields reports on a key redistricting measure in Virginia.
The arms race by state legislators and voters to control Congress took another step forward in Virginia. That's where voters approved a constitutional amendment that allows the congressional districts to be redrawn now rather than waiting for the census every 10 years. One voter in Alexandria, Matt Wallace, said he was resigned to the fact that in the current environment it is a standard of by any means necessary to fight back.
I think that the redistricting issue across the country is unfortunate, that we've had to resort to temporary redistricting.
Those that opposed it, like Joanna Miller, focused solely on Virginia and not the rest of the country and talked about how it will disenfranchise them.
I voted against the redistricting because I want my vote to count in a fair way.
Another test is coming in just a week in Florida. I'm Gary Fields.
And I'm Marcela Sanchez, AP News.
This is 820 AM, WCPT Willow Springs, and streaming worldwide at WCPT820.com. We are Chicago's progressive talk, where facts matter. Now, your WCPT 820 weather update.
From the Weatherology Weather Center, I'm meteorologist Michael Caro. For today, look for mostly sunny skies, high temperatures working up into the lower 80s. South winds increasing to 10 to 15. For tonight, showers and storms developing late, a low of 62. And then showers and storms likely on Friday. We're back to highs in the lower 70s. Cooler but drying out for your weekend. Saturday, a high of 64, upper 60 Sunday. And that's your latest Chicago weather update. Right now, it's 54.
Jose and Laura came to Brookfield Tax Planning worried about their taxes. After their free, no-obligation tax reduction review, they discovered they'd been overpaying $8,100 every year for 28 years. That's $227,000 of hard-earned money gone forever. Why? Jose and Laura's financial advisor did nothing to reduce their taxes, and their accountant records history after the year ends when it's too late to use legal, proactive tax reduction strategies for business owners and retirees. 94% of Brookfield's clients discover they've wasted thousands for years due to passive advisors. Brookfield Tax Planning reviews your returns free and can show you how much you're overpaying, how to plan ahead now to stop it. You risk nothing. But this may be the most profitable hour you'll invest all year. Call Brookfield Tax Planning at 708-485-3439 or visit BrookfieldTaxPlanning.com. That's BrookfieldTaxPlanning.com.
You're listening to WCPT 820 because facts matter.
We may be waking up, but we're still engaged. It's Chew's Views with Richard Chew.
After serving 35 years in the Army, I know a threat to our country when I see one. And politicians rigging congressional maps so they can hold on to power, it is absolutely a threat to our democracy. It's why I'm voting yes on the Fair Elections Amendment. It's a temporary measure to level the playing field, protect Virginia's voice, and guarantee that people, not politicians, have the power. That's worth fighting for. Vote yes for fair elections.
And voting yes had the outcome that so many people wanted to have in Virginia. This morning, we are with Army Major General Randy Manner, who is retired, former acting vice chair of the National Guard Bureau, a member of the National Security Leaders of America. Good morning, General Manner. It's great to see you again. I'm so honored to have you back on Choose Views.
Well, good morning as well, and thank you for having me. I always appreciate the chance to be here.
Yeah, it's great, and I just want folks to understand the clip that we played, or it was actually a spot that that you recorded to talk about this very, very important time when it comes to voting in America, but more specifically, as I see it, they kicked the hornet's nest with Texas, and blue states, if you will, or common sense thinking from people said that was a bad idea. And we have to respond to that. You, as a former military person, understands that when something happens, you kind of have to respond. You got to be prepared, and then be prepared for the next thing that may happen. And you guys did that in Virginia day before yesterday. Talk a little bit about that.
So this was actually something that when I was approached about 4 months ago or thereabouts was very painful, because I don't believe in changing districts just for the heck of it. I also know in our country that there are many districts that have not been fair. They're not fair at all. They're obviously gerrymandered. And I have always been opposed to that. Then whenever Texas legislature, by the way, not the people, when the legislature took the unilateral decision to rewrite their own districts, I thought that is a bunch of MAGA people, and that's important for me to say, not traditional Republicans. It's a bunch of MAGA people trying to hold on to power. And it pissed the crap out of me. And then other southern states started doing it. So California put it to the vote of the people. And of course, we know what happened. And then in Virginia, our governor, we had just newly elected a year ago, she sponsored this legislation. And remember, she won by 15 votes, 15 points. 15 points.
Yeah.
And then she put it in, and they approached me, and I said, okay, talk to me about this. It's a temporary legislation. I mean, it's only going to be no longer than 10 years. And it is something that is only in response to the legislative gerrymandering by southern states to change the election outcome of the House of Representatives. So I said, man, I didn't even know it was that bad. And hell yes, let's allow the people to decide. Now, this initiative, which I did that ad for, it only won by about 3 votes, or 3 points.
Yeah.
However, that's because a lot of people, including myself, were like, wait a minute, what are we doing and why are we doing it? So it's not the fact that Republicans were gaining steam in Virginia. That's not it whatsoever. It's the fact that this concept of fair play is very important to Democrats. And that's why some of them decided to vote no, because they thought this was changing it. In the end, the voters spoke, and now there's going to be 4 more votes that are going to be Democrat as a result of this.
One of the big things that you said, and I thought about this the day before yesterday and yesterday and even now, is it's been put to the voters. And the reason I want to juxtapose this against something that is trying to happen, and that is, Mike Johnson is trying to, through the court system, say, oh, no, you can't do that. It's, Virginia is a 50-50 state, et cetera, et cetera. You know what he said. And it can't happen because it's not fair. But let's be honest. California put it to the voters. The voters said, for the time being, this is what we're going to do because we've got to win for the nation. And I was using language like that, when this first came out. This is about the nation protecting itself. And if a state, one of the players, California, steps up and says, we have to lean into protecting our country's democracy, then this is what we have to do, as temporary as that might be. Virginia just did the same thing. Put it to the voters. They didn't, the governor didn't say, oh, based on my whim, I decide this is what's going to happen. He didn't.
That's right.
She didn't say, I'm going to do an executive order and say, this is what I want. It was put to the people. And even though it was narrow isn't, it's so funny, General Manager. Narrow only matters when Republicans lose. They get pissed off when we win by a narrow margin. But when they win by a narrow margin, it's like, yes, we have a mandate from the world and we should be able to run and rule and rape and pillage.
Landslide.
And it's a landslide, right. We win by a narrow margin about something that's actually to benefit the greater cause of the nation. They get ticked off. So I am so proud of what you did and what folks there in Virginia have done to make sure that we hold the line right now. Let's talk a little bit about what that means to you, not just as a voter, but and as a citizen and former military person, but in this conversation around protecting our democracy. Talk a little bit about what that means to you.
So when I took that oath, oh my goodness, a long time ago, back in 1976, out of Penn State University into ROTC, to protect and defend the Constitution against all enemies, foreign and domestic. I was taught while I was in ROTC, I was taught every year while I was in the military that for military members, there was no greater honor to serve the citizens, the people of the United States, to follow all lawful orders of the commander-in-chief, and to have, we were going to be the military. Remember, the military has always been ahead of our society, whether it was something where President Truman declared that all the military will be integrated right after World War II.
Yep.
That was a huge, I mean, and Southerners fought it left and right. Like, wait, what are you thinking? That can't be fair. It's like, wait, what? Well, of course, because they were their grandfathers were owning slaves at the time. So the point was, the American military has been ahead. And then moving women into positions in the military. My commissioning year, 1976, believe it or not, was the first year women were commissioned side by side with men.
Yeah.
First year. And even at Penn State, which is, I mean, it's not exactly liberal, but it's not exactly conservative. I can remember the older men in the upper classes complaining about women being in the ROTC, and they had, not everybody, but a bunch. And it was like, you got to be kidding me. Wait, what? I mean, if they can do everything, all I want to know is, can they do their job and can I do my job, and we have each other's back. And then, of course, we know about the repeal of the Don't Ask, Don't Tell. And again, what does it matter what's your sexual orientation or your religion? It doesn't matter. All that matters is, can you do your job? Are you part of the team? And do you believe in the Constitution? Unfortunately, the Secretary of Defense and this president are turning it into a white nationalist Christian situation. And it is destroying the morale of our military, and it's dividing our nation. So I'm standing up in every way that I possibly can to speak for everyone, no matter what your color, no matter what your religion, no matter what your sexual orientation is. I don't care. And the only thing is, you're not going to impose your way of thinking on me, and I'm not going to impose my thinking on you, except for one, that you have the freedom to say what you want, but not to push it on anybody else.
That is such a great, and those words, General Manor, are so applicable in so many of the divisive conversations, particularly when it comes to religion and when it comes to things like a woman's right to choose. I said for the longest time, it may or may not be my choice with my family, et cetera, et cetera, et cetera, but that's our choice. So I'm not going to put that on you, and you don't get to put yours on me. That's fair. Right. And yes. that conversation, those words are an overlay for so many of the conversations that we have right now. But I got to come back to something that we didn't touch on yet, and we'll take a tiny break, General Manor, and then we come back. I want to get into some things that are happening with this administration. 773-763-9278 is the number. You're listening to Choose Views on WCPT AM 820 in Chicago and WARR 1520 AM and 103.5 FM from Warren County, North Carolina. And now AM 950, the progressive voice of Minnesota. I'm Richard Chu. We're talking with General Randy Manor, and we'll be right back.
At Kohl's, Kohl's, spring style starts with the season's best shoe sale and continues with 15% off the rest of your looks. But with great outfits from Kohl's, what happens next is unexpected. Strangers ask where you shop. The breeze feels like it's blowing just for you. Your kids post for photos willingly. Yep, great spring outfits can do that kind of thing. Find yours at Kohl's and Kohl's.com. Select styles, offers end April 26th. Some exclusions apply. See store or Kohl's.com for details.
In 1776, we defied a corrupt king, and the America we love was born from that defiance. Now it's time to do it again. America is in crisis, but patriots across the country are standing up to save her for ourselves and our posterity. Show your support with the No Kings lapel pin, a 1-inch by 1-inch standard American flag lapel pin embedded with our No Kings symbol. So much better than that tacky red hat. It's a subtle but powerful way to say you've had enough of wannabe dictators and you're doing something about it. Every day, keep our movement going by wearing this pin that clearly says what freedom-loving Americans are thinking. There are no kings in America, and there never will be. Go to store.politicalvoicesnetwork.com. That's store.politicalvoicesnetwork.com. Get your No Kings lapel pin now.
There are 1,000 ways to say it.
Nope. Knock it off. Shut it down. Dream on. No dice. Give it a rest. Not a chance.
Or just
all text. You focus on the road.
As a passenger, you have the power to prevent an accident. There are 1,000 ways to stop a distracted driver. Choose one.
A message from CTIA.
Alexa, play WCPT.
WCPT from TuneIn.
Debunking the lies your uncle saw on Facebook. It's Chew's Views with Richard Chew.
All right, guys, welcome back to the show. In case you're just joining us, I'm Richard Chew, and this is Chew's Views, and we're talking with General Randy Manner. General, I'm gonna have some fun and say this in a certain way. Did any of your staff in any of your years of service have to come in and tap on the door and say, General, we got a meeting to go to. General, where are you? And then, crack the door open and you were a little bit overserved in your own private Idaho moment? I'm being snarky, but you know what I'm talking about when it comes to Kash Patel. Yes. And because he serves, not in the military, but he serves as one of the most powerful heads of an organization that's linked to our military. Is that, right. I know the answer, but it's a rhetorical question.
Yeah. Well, no. So the real answer is hell no, it never happened. And in fact, not only that, in combat zones, there's no alcohol permitted whatsoever. None, zero. I would go to embassies across the Middle East as for receptions. And even though they were serving alcohol, of course, I would not have one single drop, because even though it would have been diplomatically acceptable, it was unacceptable for me to even have one single drop of alcohol, because that was the regulation. And I honored it, and my team honored it. So this is complete crap. I thought it was pathetically amusing and ironic that he was asked a direct question yesterday by a news reporter, and he did not say that he had never been found drunk or that he had not been drunk. So the answer is, it is very likely that he has. Right. Very likely.
Yeah, I mean that's like saying, how we talk to children in the past. Did you grab the crackers off the counter? Well, I did not grab the crackers off the counter.
So by the way, I got another one for you. The President of the United States tweeted, I was not talked into this by this attack by the Israeli Prime Minister. And I was interviewed by London Times Radio 2 days ago, and it was a perfect opportunity to quote Shakespeare. And I said, from Hamlet, and I said, methinks thou dost protest too much. And it's like, yeah, Mr. President, shut up. You don't need to say anything if it's not true. But the fact that he protests, the fact that its evidence is coming out from previous members of the National Security Administration, the Council, National Security Council, that said it's very common for the Israeli prime ministers over time to say, hey, would you guys mind attacking Iran with us to diminish their offensive capability? And only one president has ever done it, and that is Donald Trump. And so while he denies it, no offense, we can almost tell when the president is lying. He can't, but we can, because he basically says it over and again, and he puts it in capital letters with exclamation marks.
Yeah, that's.
I mean, he is the worst poker player in the world.
I know. Oh, gosh. General, thank you for saying that and rolling with my little bit of weak humor for a moment. You've said that the Iran nuclear weapon is the Straits of Hormuz. Talk a little bit about what you meant and mean in that statement.
Sure. So the Iranians have found newfound power as a result of the president's ineptitude decision-making. He didn't think about the unintended consequences that the Iranians would say, well, what the hell then? You know what? We're just going to easily be able to close the strait. And then it's also funny because the president said, you're not closing the strait, I'm closing the strait. And then the Iranians, no, we're closing the strait. Okay, we're going to open the strait. No, I mean, it sounded like one of those Bugs Bunny, Yosemite Sam, back and forth old time cartoons. Like, yes, you are, no, I'm not. And then they switch roles and who's in charge? Yeah. Oh my God. And by the way, the important thing, a little bit of humor aside, is one thing that the average American does not know is that, and I did not even find out till a few days ago, is that the Secretary of Defense decided to stop mail deliveries to all military members in the Middle East. I say again, the Secretary of Defense decided to stop mail deliveries because, quote unquote, we don't have the logistics capability to deliver mail. What the hell? Never. Now, by the way, there's been slow mail, don't get me wrong. In World War II, we delivered mail no matter around the world. In fact, if you remember, there's even a movie about the mail was so screwed up after D-Day that an African-American female mail unit unscrewed the mail. But the point is, the American military and the President of the United States, President Roosevelt, knew how important letters from home and packages from home are. So we either have an absolute liar in the Secretary of Defense saying we don't have the logistics capability, or he's hoping nobody notices it. It is absurd. We need to deliver mail. And I'm going to tell you right now, because I've done this before, I need your listeners to call your representative and your senator at 202-224-3121. Again, 202-224-3121 and say, start delivering mail to our soldiers, sailors, and airmen on the ships and on the ground and stop the bullshit.
That's right.
Sorry.
I got to say that the best part of that is your recognition and understanding of history is so profound. And the movie that you're talking about, I was just talking with some friends about this weekend. It's called The 6888. I can't think of the actress, the one actress that's in the movie. We did it. And some of the great scenes in this movie are when the soldiers, thank God for these women who allowed us to reconnect with our families back home. Right. And it's a profound scene in the hall. But anyhow, by
the way, 8 million Americans were in uniform around the world. 8 million. We've got about 30,000 in the area. Oh, come on. We can't get this straight.
Right. Yeah, it's Kerry Washington's the actress that I'm thinking of. But
there you go.
General, gosh, I guess this is just you and me throwing darts at these Jamal Bowman. I played a clip earlier, and I'll get it sent to you because I think it'll make you chuckle. Jamal Bowman, former congressman from Brooklyn, New York, was on, I think it's CNN, and he was talking about these four guys, Trump, Johnson, Hegseth, and Vance, are punks because they don't stand for anything, and they have all these people around them to make them seem like they're uber strong and toxic, masculinity. But at the end of the day, they're really not that anything. And this proves it out. The Navy Secretary is out. Talk a little bit about this. I mean, one more member of this administration is gone. How do we deal with this?
So it's hard to believe that Secretary of Navy was actually forced out by Secretary Hedgepeth, told to resign. And yet, and by the way, and this is a person appointed, I mean, he wasn't qualified to be the Secretary of Navy. No
Right.
Navy experience, no background, no nothing, but yet he was there. And then even he quits. In other words, he pushes up against the SecDef and says, what the hell? And now he's been, by the way, not because of incompetence.
No.
Even though, I mean, this is because
maybe not
he's
qualified.
standing-
Maybe not qualified to the extent that we may have wanted, but certainly
Right.
not out of incompetence. And those are two different things. Sorry about that, General.
That, by the way, I completely concur with that. Not the best Secretary of Navy, but not the worst by any chance. And so therefore you have an individual who is, I believe, trying to stand up for the right things for the Navy in combat, by the way.
Yep.
This is right after, of course, the Secretary of Defense fired the Chief of Staff of the Army during wartime and the Chief of Chaplains during wartime. I mean, so let's cut out all religious leaders to provide comfort to our military members. Oh, because they're not white nationalists, so no, we can't have them. Okay, and I'm not exaggerating. And then secondly, let's stop delivering mail. No more packages from home, because we don't want that to happen either. I mean, this is actually the impact on our military members and our families is pathetic, and we need to speak up. We need, like, we voted in Virginia this week, and actually, because of early voting, I voted a month ago. But the point was, everybody listening to me has got to call their congressman and basically say, stop this, start the mail deliveries again.
Yeah, start the mail deliveries again. And in that call to your congressperson, your senator or your congressional leader, let them know. I mean, we hear this oftentimes, General, that, particularly on the Democratic side, that, we go through some of these purity tests. It's got to be the perfect person that threads the needle just right all the time. And I think that that's sometimes a waste of energy and not the best way to go. But one of the things that does happen with Democrats is that we kind of kick ourselves in the behind, maybe sometimes too often, but we still do it. And I think it's to strengthen our party. We don't always get it right. We know that. However, on the other side, what I want to see the constituents of the Republicans who've been elected on a federal level particularly start to do is to speak up and say, this is not, it's not what I thought I voted for, or what I maybe, convinced myself into thinking I was voting for. Because these are things that they're sort of the core issues to Republicans. And now they've abandoned that.
So, by the way, it's interesting that you hit the nail on the head. What the Republican okay, so as you know, I have voted both sides of the tickets throughout my entire life. I voted who I thought was going to be the best person. Senator John Warner from Virginia was one of the best congressmen ever, but yet he was Republican. Okay, awesome. I love this guy. I voted for him all the time. So what I'm trying to say is the Republican Party has lost its way, and they no longer believe in anything except for keeping themselves and Trump in power. End of story. They do not stand up for their constituents. It's all mouthpieces, literally, to keep Trump in power, to keep him out of jail, and to keep all of his people out of jail. One last parting shot, and I'm going to predict this. I truly believe that if they survive, that there's going to be several members of this administration that will be indicted for war crimes by The Hague over the next 3 years.
Wow.
And I'm gonna put that on the table right now.
Well,
I believe it's.
I'm going to sit at that table with you. General Randy Manner, thanks for hanging out with us this morning. It's always an honor, sir, to have you on the show. Please stay safe, stay in the fight, and keep inspiring us to do better. We'll talk to you soon, okay?
Thank you.
All right, bye now. 773-763-9278 is the number. You're listening to Choose Views on WCPT, AM 820 in Chicago, WARR 1520 AM, and 103.5 FM from Warren County, North Carolina, and also AM 950, the progressive voice of Minnesota. I'm Richard Chu. We'll be right back.
WCPT replay.
The professor of political science and women's and gender studies at Brooklyn College and the graduate center of the City University of New York and author of Sex Is as Sex Does, Governing Transgender Identity. Yeah, Paisley Curra.
When we're talking about transgender, I know it's a very big blanket umbrella statement, but when we're in this subject matter, how will we define it?
When it comes to transgender athletes, the policies basically address the people's transition in relation to hormone levels, or the policies that the sports associations are addressing. The legislation that the Republicans have passed are just about whether someone is transgender or not, and that anybody who's transgender is just automatically, in much of this legislation, barred from participating. So the sports associations have a much more sophisticated approach in terms of looking at making sure that that the policies are as inclusive as possible and no one has an unfair advantage.
Keep listening to WCPT 820 because facts matter.
Whoa there. Where do you think you two are going? This is a union-only job site.
Hi, we're from ABOC, a leading business and labor union bank founded over 100 years ago in Chicago.
Good to know. We only let union members on this site.
ABOC was founded by labor union members. We have union leaders on our board and union employees to this day.
Okay, you've got my attention.
As you know, labor union banking requires experience and expertise.
Tell me about it.
Hi there. Labor unions get the advantage of our oversight and regulatory experience.
Get to the good part.
Hundreds of labor unions trust ABOC for their banking, including treasury management, investments, and construction loans like this one.
You worked on this job?
We sure did.
Just ask your boss.
Okay. Why didn't you say so? Come on in.
Thanks.
Hey, don't forget your hard hats.
Trust ABOC, the bank for labor unions.
Hey, learn more at ABOC.com. ABOC is the brand name for Amalgamated Bank of Chicago. Member, FDIC.
You're listening to WCPT 820. Here's the latest Chicago weather update.
From the Weatherology Weather Center, I'm meteorologist Michael Caro. For today, look for mostly sunny skies, high temperatures working up into the lower 80s, south winds increasing to 10 to 15. For tonight, showers and storms developing late, a low of 62, and then showers and storms likely on Friday. We're back to highs in the lower 70s. Cooler but drying out for your weekend, Saturday a high of 64, upper 60 Sunday. And that's your latest Chicago weather update. Currently 56 degrees.
Chicago's Progressive Talk, WCPT 820, where facts matter.
Don't hit that snooze button. It's time for Choose Views with Richard Chew.
All right, guys, welcome back to the show. What a great man General Randy Manor is, and his experience, his knowledge. And, you know, Henry, he's unapologetic about where he stands because he knows his stuff. I mean, that's the thing. He knows what he's talking about. He's been there. I'd rather have him as Secretary of Defense right now than Pete Hegseth. But we have another well-seasoned and well-informed dude hanging out with us this morning. It's been a few weeks, but Brian Lemek is back with us. He is the executive director of Defend the Vote. Brian Lemek, welcome back to Choose Views. How you been, man?
Oh, well, and thanks for having me back. It's a busy time here in Washington. It's a busy time here in America.
It is. We just had General Manor on talking about the vote that just went down. And I know you've got your elbows deep in the conversation around voting. And he just talked about the redistricting vote in Virginia. And he said, listen, this is not something we want to do. We wanted to do, we planned to do, or felt that it was, oh, yeah, let's just do this. He said it was a strategic move that we have to do to defend the vote, to defend democracy. I know you've got some comments about that. Talk a little bit about where you stand and what took place day before yesterday.
Absolutely. So, look, we didn't start this fight, but we can end it.
Yes,
right?
sir.
So they started this. They picked a fight with us in Texas. And so we countered in California with Prop 50. You know what we did there. And
yep.
we said, all right, well, you turned it on. And so we're coming after you in Virginia as well. And look at where we are now. And so it didn't have to be this way. It's typical of the Republicans and their overcorrections and their overreactions. And I don't think they understand sometimes that we're smart and that we want to protect our democracy. And we can pull some levers also. So we've got great candidates in Virginia. I think we could have done pretty well even without this redistricting, but alas, this is where we are.
And I think it's one of those moments, and this is the thing that I think is important that we talk about. We criticize ourselves a lot as progressive liberal Democrats. We do. And I think, and I said this yesterday in talking with one of our contributors, Kurt Mullett from Hoosier Blue 63, and with Amy McGrath, who's running in Kentucky. So we criticize ourselves, and it's what the goal is to hopefully have a bigger tent, but a stronger tent. And that way we can keep moving forward and quote, gobbling back up some territory that we lost politically. But I love the way you put it, Brian. They forget that we're smart. As we get called out for being nerdy and those Democrats who think they're better than everybody else, but we're kind of smart. And they kicked the hornet's nest in Texas. And we've done the thing that's great. And I said that I'm repeating myself, but for a purpose. What I said to a general manner is this was done at the behest of the voters. The voters made this happen. The governors did not roll into town and say, executive order, we're going to change this around. The governors led the charge. However, it was the voters that stepped up and said, nah, we're not down with the other way. We're going to be part of the team that fixes our democracy.
Yep. And our turnout was unbelievable too. One of our team members was there on Saturday, and he said he hasn't seen lines like that in years, right? And that was just for the ballot measure. So, I mean, Democrats turned out in a real way because they understand the threat that's against our democracy. And we all know that voting is the one way that we can stop this, right? So we came out, we voted again, and look at where we are.
So, Brian, let's talk about that because, the numbers were strong. Let's talk about that as it relates to the nation. And we're going to talk about this again next month when we have you back on. But the nation's number, or more specifically, the turnout that you're anticipating or driving for in these, proverbially swing states as it relates to the midterms, not obviously the 2028.
Yeah, so we know that Trump voters turn out for Trump, and so we would expect that turnout would be a little low on their end. But more importantly, on the Democratic side, the messaging around what's happening, the reality that Trump is doing things like executive orders against vote by mail, the measures that he's trying to pass, that's all getting into our ecosystem. Our voters, Democratic voters, are aware. And so they're motivated by that reality that, again, as I've said a million times to you, when they can't win, they cheat, right? So we're fully aware that they're trying to cheat right now. And so it's that public awareness. And on top of that, the multiplier effect of a really strong get out the vote effort and a lot of investments from groups throughout the country on this GOTV that started months and almost a year ago to encourage voters to get out in this midterm. Because, Chu, right now, the threats are real, right? We need these gavels. We need the gavels in the House. We can get the gavels in the Senate as well. We can win the Senate. Democratic voters know if they turn out, we can win. And we will turn out if it's raining. We will turn out if there's threats of ice. We will vote even earlier if they're going to take our ballot boxes away. We're going to do everything that we can to get out because it's too important now. And Democrats know that. So the expectation, Chu, is a very high Democratic turnout for this election that will then elect what is probably one of our more talented classes that we've seen. The candidates are excellent. They really are. And they are. We've got this great military and veteran contingency. We've got this great working class contingency, right? We've got some folks that have run once and lost close that are coming back in again, that are putting up incredible fundraising numbers, and all the polling is in their favor. So we feel very encouraged by the pool of candidates that we have, with the climate that we see right now, with everything that Trump, with the lowest approval ratings that he's ever seen at 33%, right? We see Democrats turning out, of course, but independents also we think are going to come out. Now, with independents, we know that they don't love Democrats, right? But they just are not happy with Republicans and what they're delivering from them right now. So they're going to give Democrats a chance. And now it's our obligation as Democrats that when they do elect us, that when these new Democrats come in, when we flip the House and the Senate, we got to right away, day one, start initiating those policies that we've been talking about that we ran and won on, because we do not want to win in 26 and lose in 28, right? So we got to come right in. We have to hear the people. We know what they want. We have to be able to deliver it.
it's so important that people hear that message right there. A couple things popped up, and I wanted to make some quick notes without not listening to the professor in class. But listen, man, talking with Amy McGrath yesterday, she mentioned two things, and I had Dr. Saeed on who's running in Michigan on earlier in the show, and they both said the same thing, different wording. And she said her two things are affordability and accountability. And I've been saying for a long time, Brian, that the candidate or candidates that decide to say, when we take back the House and when we take back the Senate, some folks are going to jail, is a winning message. Because I think there are a lot of people, to use Amy's accountability word, that want to see hearings where people are going to have to, and General Manners said it just a moment ago, that there's some folks that are going to get prosecuted by the Hague because of the behavior that has happened in this administration. I think that that's important that we talk about that, as well as making sure that people can afford all the things in their lives and be prosperous and grow. It's a walk and chew gum moment, I think. What are your thoughts there?
I think you're totally right, and we have research to support that. We did a poll in the fall that told us that the number one issue that Americans care about is costs, right? And number two, was corruption. So we've been talking about this message of the cost of corruption, right? So Americans know that Americans know their expenses are high, right? They know their gas is high, their groceries are high, their electric's high, their healthcare is being compromised. They know those realities. We need to help them understand how it got there. And that's the corrupt system. That's the broken system. And we have to talk about the system being broken. We have to acknowledge that reality so that voters can open their ears to, okay, they've now admitted what is wrong. We want to hear how they're going to fix it, right? So that's where it comes into the cost of corruption. We educate them on how we got there. And that, again, is the billionaires, the corporations, and the lobbyists, right? Yeah. But on top of that, and going with what the general said on the accountability piece, and Amy, also in that poll we learned, there is really no penalty that you can put down on someone that is corrupt in his government and someone that is using their position to benefit, to self-enrich themselves. They want accountability. American voters want accountability. And whether it's The Hague, whether it's voting them out of office, whether it's using the gavels and winning to introduce corporate lobbying ban, stock trading ban, crypto ban, all of that stuff, to kind of root that out and pull it out of the system. That's what Americans want right now. And that's what we're seeing. And we did, off of that poll, we did some groups about a week and a half ago.
Right.
Which is leading into another poll that we're going to do. And those groups basically reiterated the same exact thing. They look at the system as broken, corrupt, and not working for them. And this was educated, non-college educated men, 35 to 60 years old. And then they all agreed. They also agreed to, going back to the independent point, they don't love Democrats. They don't trust Democrats either, but they'll vote for them over Republicans right now.
So I know that this is a big topic, and I'll throw it out, and then if we have to go to a break, we will. But I was talking with Joe Walsh on Tuesday, and he said something that is. I asked him about a post that he put on social media. Basically, he said that he was talking to a GOP friend of his, part of MAGA, and he said that and I'm paraphrasing, can't stand what Trump has done, can't stand how this has happened, what's happening to the Republican Party, blah, blah, blah. And he said, I'm not voting Democrat, but I'm not voting Republican. I'm going to sit out. So what's the impact of Republican voters sitting out in the midterms and any of the elections that are special and all the rest, and then particularly when we get to the midterms and maybe even into the next general?
Yeah, I mean, they don't want the fight is I guess is what it is, right? If they sit out, we will come out in numbers that we've not seen before, right? I think, again, back to my earlier point, not only are we motivated, Democrats motivated about we're seeing the news and we're seeing what Trump is doing and feeling that looming in, like that day to day, every day. Gas in Washington, D.C. is $5.80, right? Everything is absurd right now. Right. And everybody is seeing this up and down. And so if we can get and Democrats are going to turn out not only on those realities, but they're really the threat to our democracy. If Republicans sit out, we're going to see an absolute landslide blue wave. Right. We're probably going to see close to that already. We're not going to see 18 numbers, necessarily, not yet, but I'm thinking like a 15 to 18% net gain for Democrats, which is bonkers, in this cycle, especially with all the gerrymandering that's happened to get those kind of numbers. But that's the reality we're going to see. And it's going to be because we have great candidates, we're going to turn out, and because Republicans aren't going to come. And some of the independents are going to do the same exact thing.
Yeah.
That same group, Chu, told us those same, just like you heard in your previous conversations, those Trump voters are disappointed in Trump. They're embarrassed by their vote. Some of the 3-time Trump voters are embarrassed by him right now and what they're doing. And it runs the spectrum because he's kind of hit everything, right?
Yeah.
He's got the war in Iran has pissed off all these veterans that voted for him. The farmers are pissed at him. Just the everyday people, the blue collar, the working class are all frustrated with him because he has made their lives harder for no reason other than to enrich himself and to satisfy a handful of people that are in his universe. That's about it. And that's the corruption that we talk about all the time, Chu.
Yeah, let's go to a quick break. The number is 773-763-9278. You're listening to Choose Views on WCPT AM 820 in Chicago, WARR 1520 AM, and 103.5 FM from Warren County, North Carolina, and also AM 950, the progressive voice of Minnesota. I'm Richard Chu. We're talking with Brian Lemek, and we'll be right back.
This is a WCPT moment in labor. On March 25th, 1911, in Manhattan, a fire at the Triangle Shirtwaist Factory killed 146 workers, who were mostly women. The victims of the fire were unable to leave the burning high-rise building due to the exits being locked and were forced to leap to their deaths from the 8th, 9th, and 10th floors. Locking doors was a common practice to reduce theft and unauthorized breaks at workplaces. As a result of the fire, the New York State Legislature formed the Factory Investigating Commission, whose findings led to 38 new laws regulating labor. Some of the new laws mandated better egress, the installation of better alarm and sprinkler systems, and increased availability of fire extinguishers. Coincidentally, the American Society of Safety Professionals was formed, which now manages, researches, and consults occupational safety and health across 75 countries. This has been a WCPT Moment in Labor. We are working for your rights.
The best words to hear at the TSA security checkpoint? You're good to go. So check before you jet. Avoid delays at TSA security checkpoints by making sure you have an acceptable form of ID. That means a real ID, passport, or other acceptable forms of identification.
Visit tsa.gov/ID to check the full list of acceptable IDs. Avoid travel delays by checking ID requirements, and you're good to go.
Is credit card or other debt making it difficult to pay your rent or mortgage? Home insecurity is often the unintended consequence of an inability to pay mounting credit card debt, student loans, or medical debt. But by working with a nonprofit credit counselor, you can avoid or reduce the risk of eviction or foreclosure while tackling debt for good. For more information about how nonprofit credit counseling can help, visit nfcc.org. Made possible in part by the nonprofit Wells Fargo Foundation.
Because facts matter. You are listening to WCPT 820.
Debunking the lies your uncle saw on Facebook. It's Choose Views with Richard Chu.
All right, guys, welcome back. If you're just tuning in this last segment, Richard Chu, this is Choose Views, and we're talking with the executive director of Defend the Vote, Brian Lemek. Brian, let me ask you this question. In talking about mail-in voting, I know that you were part of a conversation as it relates to people should consider voting early where they can, particularly given what Trump is trying to do with these executive orders and these threats around grabbing ballot information and voting information.
We had this great opportunity about 2 weeks ago in Las Vegas where we sat with Secretary Aguilar, Congresswoman Lee, Congressman Horsford, and Ranking Member Morelli, and we had a roundtable with some of the groups in Las Vegas, or Nevada really, mostly on-the-ground advocacy organizations, GOTV orgs, representing different communities. And they talked about the importance of vote by mail, especially in their community, which is a very, very working class community. And Congressman Horsford said that they really have the only opportunity, many of their voters have the only opportunity to vote between really like 3 and 7 o'clock on Tuesday of election day, right? Because they're working, they're working, right? So their options are take a shift off, go and vote, or rush there between 3 and 7, wait in these ridiculous lines. Those are the options that they have to vote in person. The other option is mail in or vote by mail, right? So if you were to restrict the vote by mail option for these folks or the voting early option for these folks, like we're going to lose so many votes. And that's the play by the Republicans. That's what they're trying to do here. And that is not just limited to Las Vegas. That's throughout the country, right? That is throughout the entire country. So their play right now is to make voting as difficult as possible, So the other threat that we're hearing and seeing here is this reality that ICE coming to the polls. Now, we know it's illegal to have federal law enforcement at the polls and law enforcement at the polls, right? But that doesn't, not everybody knows that. Right. So just the threat of them being there, just misinformation of a Facebook post that ICE is at polling station at, Bannock Hill Elementary School, like people will not go, even though they're not even there, right? So we're trying to keep this option open, or actually we need to keep this option open because it is so difficult already for many Americans to get there on the day of. So this is their attempt to restrict our voting. This is their attempt to suppress our votes. And that's why it's so important that we keep this alive. Now, the president, he can't do that, right? But that doesn't matter to him, right? It's all about the news and it's all about can he or can he not? We don't know. And so it just makes people nervous and concerned. And that's his whole obligation here. That's the only way that he thinks he can win is by doing these types of measures.
Yeah, I asked a question earlier: voter depression versus voter suppression. What's the difference and which one is worse? They're both awful, and I wanted to hear from my listeners what their thoughts were there. I would probably gather that you think that we both know that they're both awful, but they have different impacts because one is to take away and the other is to keep away people from going to the polls. And that's what this ICE threat could potentially represent. Not potentially, it already has. Since we're talking about voting, let's some updates on the SAVE Act. It looks like, I almost say we made some headway, but it looks like we kind of held the line for a period of time.
Yeah, it looks like we blocked it in the Senate, and I think we should all be proud of that. They certainly weren't going to get to 60, but they're not even going to get to 50 at this point. But we know also, again, that's just another safeguard for them to rig the election. So they're not going to stop. We've stopped them right now, as you mentioned, but they're not going to stop. So Elon Musk, Trump are still pushing and trying to get this through. Senate Republicans and Senate staffers are saying that they've never felt pressure from the White House on anything to the level that they feel on passing the SAVE Act, right? And that just goes, it's unbelievable, right? Then that really what that is evidence of their concern of losing the midterms, right? So all they have to do, Chu, is initiate policy and pass law that Americans want, and they have a fair shot at winning the election. That's it. But they're incapable of doing that. Right? So just offer policies that Americans want, make laws and legislate, do your job, and you can get reelected. But they can't do that.
They don't.
So they put all this extra effort in.
They don't want to do it. They're knuckleheads. Yeah. I mean, it's so easy. One of the things that a good friend and I talk about, just do the easy thing. What's the easiest thing? And this is what's crazy and insulting all at the same time, and that's this. And they have all levels of government on a federal level. All of them, y'all. Not a couple of them. They got all of them. And they are getting a damn thing done to help anybody other than themselves. And the simplest thing, when you got all that power, all those levers, and you can shake and bake. I mean, you got the best of the best NBA players of all time. You got all the GOATs. You should win every time you go out and play. And every time. And they got all of the stuff. and they're not getting anything done for people. They're literally, based on the data, and I know you see more of this than most people, they've actually made it worse for people because of their ineptitude and the fact that they're just some knuckleheads that don't really care. That's my words.
Care.
But what do you?
I share your words. They don't care, right? They don't care. And all the evidence is in front of us. They don't care. They care. Well, they don't care about Americans. They don't care about their constituents. They don't care about the voters. They care about themselves. And that is what we see every day. And it's backed by data that Americans do not think the government is working for them. They think they're working for themselves. Corrupt system, right? Benefiting just a handful of people. So he has all this power. Donald Trump has all this power. House Republicans, Senate Republicans have all this power, and they're using it to enrich themselves.
Yeah.
And Americans are negatively impacted by their decisions every single day. And what they're going to do is they're going to lose, right? They're going to turn it over to us. And our obligation to Americans is to say, we see you, we heard you. These are the policies that are going to make your lives better. And they have to do everything they can to fight, to get that message out, to pass bills and pass laws that are going to make Americans' lives better. That's all we want right now. And then, we can work on everything else.
Exactly.
Right? Save our democracy. Allow us to make decisions that aren't, should I get gas today or should I feed my family?
Yeah.
Right? Maybe I'll skip this meal to feed my kids. This is the most prosperous country in the world. Why are these decisions being made? Right? That's the position that we're in. It's unfair. And it's just the decisions of a handful of people and their selfishness that have brought us here.
There was a guy who was interviewed by one of the news channels as we wrap up down in Florida. And I'm going to say it this way because it's relevant. White guy in the trades of some sort. And he said that, I voted for Trump. And I voted because he said he was going to do X, Y, and Z. And he's going to make my life easier. And he's done nothing to that effect. And he literally said, Brian, I miss Uncle Joe. And this dude said, I voted for Trump the first time, and I thought I'd vote for him again the second time. He literally said, I miss Uncle Joe, because at least then I knew that things were stable and things were moving in a better direction, and my life was better. I was making more money. I hope that the Democratic messaging machine catches that clip and plays it nonstop, because it was literally coming from a white dude in Florida that's the prototypical assumptive voter that you would think would not say that. So, Brian,
said in such an endearing way, right?
Yeah,
like Uncle Joe.
Uncle Joe, man.
Yeah,
I got to find that and get it sent to you. But Brian, it is always great to talk to you, brother. I'm glad you're doing well. Stay healthy. Look forward to having you back on next month so we can chop this up again. Okay.
That sounds great. Be safe and have fun. Okay.
Will do, man. Talk to you soon.
All right. Thank you so much.
You too, man. We got to get out of here. 773 is the number. 763-9278. You've been listening to Choose Views. As always, stay tuned for the Stephanie Miller Show. And remember to take a deep breath and make your life count. We'll see you tomorrow.
Would it be crazy if you packed your bags and left for a week, a month, a year? What if you left for 2 years? What if you were going far away to help in a village on the edge of the Gobi Desert, to teach children and learn a thing or two about yourself? Would that be crazy? Peace Corps. Life is calling. How far will you go?
Tell me how you're doing, really. Tell me that you missed the bus this morning, your rent's past due, and your stress level has skyrocketed. I'm here for you, to listen, not judge, to connect you to local mental health resources. No matter what you're going through, specialists like me from NAMI Chicago Helpline are here for you. Call or text Helpline to 833-626-4244. That's 833-626-4244.
Don't act like that. Don't wear that. Don't think that. I've heard everything you tell yourself every time you felt different. And I want you to know that you can be vulnerable and powerful. That taking care of your mind is taking care of everyone you love and who loves you. Love your mind. Find mental health resources at loveyourmindtoday.org. Brought to you by the Huntsman Mental Health Institute and the Ad Council.
Epic parties start at Staples. Now you can grab Party City balloons, decorations, and tableware, plus matching custom invites, banners, and more right at Staples. That was easy.
AP News, I'm Marcela Sanchez. The U.S. military has seized another tanker today associated with smuggling Iranian oil. The U.S. Defense Department says it seized the oil tanker Majestic X in the Indian Ocean. This comes a day after Iran attacked 3 cargo ships in the Strait of Hormuz, capturing 2 of them. Since the beginning of the war between Iran, Israel, and the U.S., over 30 ships have come under attack in the waters of the Persian Gulf, the Strait of Hormuz, and the Gulf of Oman. The threat of attack, rising insurance premiums, and other fears have stopped traffic from moving through the strait, through which 20% of all crude oil and natural gas traded passes. In other news, AP correspondent Donna Warder reports on last night's debate between California's 6 leading candidates for governor.
The debate, live streamed on The Hill, brought together the 6 leading candidates for California governor. The 2 Republicans, conservative commentator Steve Hilton and Riverside County Sheriff Chad Bianco.
Well, we're never going to know if our elections are secure because when law enforcement does legitimate investigations into the allegations, it's stopped by our current Democrat one-party rule in California.
The 4 Democrats, billionaire Tom Steyer, San Jose Mayor Matt Mahan, Javier Becerra, the Biden administration's Health and Human Services Secretary, and U.S. Representative Katie Porter.
What I would do differently than Governor Newsom is fund homelessness prevention. It is so much more cost-effective and so much more humane to prevent families from becoming homeless in the first place.
It's a wide-open contest with more than 50 names on the ballot. The primary, June 2nd. I'm Donna Warder.
In Denmark, 2 trains collided earlier today, leaving 5 people critically injured in what police called a major incident. The collision occurred about 25 miles north of Copenhagen. Roughly a dozen other people have minor injuries, according to authorities. This is AP News. AP correspondent Karen Shamas reports on the resumption of Russian oil flow in the Druzhba oil pipeline.
Slovakia's economy minister announced on Thursday that the flow of Russian oil to Slovakia through the Druzhba pipeline that crosses Ukraine has resumed. The resumption of oil flow in the pipeline is a breakthrough in an issue that has caused a major diplomatic spat in Europe. The development is expected to unblock a large financial assistance package for war-ravaged Ukraine. Populist Slovak Prime Minister Robert Fico welcomed the move, calling it good news. Fico thanked all those involved in solving the issue, including the European Commission and Hungary. Hungary and Slovakia were locked in a feud with Ukraine since Russian oil deliveries to Hungary and Slovakia through the pipeline were halted in January after the pipeline was damaged.
More information at apnews.com. I'm Marcela Sanchez, AP News.
This is 8:20 a.m. WCPT Willow Springs and streaming worldwide at WCPT820.com. We are Chicago's progressive talk, where facts matter. Now your WCPT 820 weather update.
From the Weatherology Weather Center, I'm meteorologist Michael Caro. For today, look for mostly sunny skies, high temperatures working up into the lower 80s, south winds increasing to 10 to 15. For tonight, showers and storms developing late, a low of 62, and then showers and storms likely on Friday. We're back to highs in the lower 70s. Cooler but drying out for your weekend, Saturday a high of 64, upper 60s Sunday. And that's your latest Chicago weather update. Currently 61 degrees.
This is Chicago's Progressive Talk, 8:20 a.m. WCPT Willow Springs and online at WCPT820.com, where facts matter.
Here's a tale of Becky. Didn't know what to do with new meds prescribed and no real cost clue.
She squinted at prices, that can't be right. Then tapped GoodRx and saw the light.
She could get a deal. Book telehealth if she feel.
Learn about those meds without any stress. That one little app does all the rest. Even my horse downloaded it. Dang, save time and money on prescriptions.
Check GoodRx. GoodRx is not insurance.
Whoa there. Where do you think you two are going? This is a union-only job site.
Hi, we're from ABOC, a leading business and labor union bank founded over 100 years ago in Chicago.
Good to know. We only let union members on this site.
ABOC was founded by labor union members. We have union leaders on our board and union employees to this day.
Okay, you've got my attention.
As you know, labor union banking requires experience and expertise.
Tell me about it.
Hi there. Labor unions get the advantage of our oversight and regulatory experience.
Get to the good part.
Hundreds of labor unions trust ABOC for their banking, including treasury management, investments, and construction loans like this one.
You worked on this job?
We sure did.
Just ask your boss.
Okay, why didn't you say so? Come on in.
Thanks.
Hey, don't forget your hard hats.
Trust ABOC, the bank for labor unions.
Hey, learn more at ABOC.com. ABOC is the brand name for Amalgamated Bank of Chicago. Member, FDIC.
A sweeping love story, unforgettable music, a true Broadway classic. Rodgers and Hammerstein's South Pacific comes to Paramount Theater in downtown Aurora, April 29th through June 14th. This 10-time Tony Award-winning musical blends wartime drama, romance, and a powerful message about celebrating cultural differences. Featuring beloved songs like Some Enchanted Evening, Valley High, and I'm Gonna Wash That Man Right Out of My Hair. Tickets start at $31 when purchased in person. Reserve your seats now at ParamountAurora.com.
Hey Google, play WCPT.
Streaming Chicago's progressive talk from TuneIn.